Alright, so today I'm going to bring you guys Infect, and this is definitely not the dream hand. Um, this is an 8-man. Let's see, I have no Infect creature. Well, I have Inkmoth Nexus, which is like the best creature in the set, in the deck, and in theory you have 12 win conditions, which are your 12 creatures, and then like no plan B. So probe turn 1. Could be a lot of different things. You can't really get much on. Okay. So it's a mirror match to open it up, which is not too bad. Now the Dryad Arbor is not supposed to be like in your opening hand. It's there. It's an old Boggles trick actually, for Liliana decks or decks that have verdict. Not verdict. Yeah, like verdict effects, stuff like that. So I need to win this quickly, but without a turn 1 Glistening Elf, it's going to be difficult. And he's off to a much faster start. I just need to hope that he doesn't kill me next turn, which is, the turn 3 kill is entirely possible with this deck. So I'm just going to play the Spellskite, which in theory should stop the turn 3 kill from happening. You can win matches in the mirror by who has a Spellskite out and how much life are they at. So, eventually they can, they have to stop using the Phyrexian mana. And, you have to hope that your Spellskite beats out their Spellskite. I mean that your life total is higher than theirs, so it's not too bad. The mirror is difficult. I don't have a ton of experience. I have actually 0 experience with Infect. I just figured I'd pick it up, give it a shot. When I was playing, whatever the deck is called, when I was playing, Prime Shift or whatever, Valakut deck, it was, this deck was just killing me constantly, really quickly, so. Oh, he's got his own Spellskite. That would explain why he didn't activate his Inkmoth and try and get him for 2. Which is fine. Alright. Wild Defiance is going to be big in this match, because when you have 2 Spellskites in play, you target your creature and the trigger goes on the stack. Alright, so let's see what he's got, what he's working with here. Ugh, crap. That is a lot of useful stuff, but all of it is redirectable to my Spellskite. There are some cards that aren't. Certain cards, Spellskite has to be a legal target. So if it's a card like that says your, then that's useful. So next turn, I think I can fetch for a breeding pool and attack with Inkmoth. What worries me is that he can block with his own Inkmoth. Basically, it's going to be how many turns until I can get a second threat out. And it's not easy, because I'm going to need a second threat next turn, and I have a land in my hand that I can't use. So I will see. This is a slow match. Remember, I'm trying to figure out this deck. And playing in the mirror is not exactly the best way to do it. So, alright, so we activated his Inkmoth, which gives me an attack with my Inkmoth, which at minimum can give me, what could it give me? Let's see, Ink Moth. Target it twice. That's 6. 7. That's 6. That's 7, 8. Ink Moth could be lethal next turn. So he's gonna get him for 2. That's fine. I'm going to. Alright, he's probably gonna play out his other Blightted Agent. I remember when Infect first came out, and people were like, "Blue Infect? What are you, stupid? Like, you have to play Black Infect." Alright, so I feel like I should have an attack here. Even though next turn I'm looking at 3 more Infect damage, and then I'm dead the next turn. I have to go for a Breeding Pool. I'm still up 2 life on him, so the Spellskite math is not horrible. Now if I target it, now I'm going to Pendelhaven here. That can't be redirected, which is nice. Although looking at it now, well, regardless, I'm going to pump it up, so that's 1, 4. So he redirected it to a Spellskite, which is fine. And that gets me in for 5. And had I done that differently, he would be dead, because I would have targeted it twice, which would have given it +6, +6. And then it's 7. No, it wouldn't have killed him. Would have gotten him close, though. Now, Groundswell... I'm sorry, that's not Groundswell, it's Vines of Vastwood. Vines of Vastwood is useful here, because I can target his Spellskite, so that way he can't target my spells. It's a weird little trick that you learn when you play enough. But what you do is you use the Vines of Vastwood to target their Spellskite, and then they can no longer, and then Spellskite becomes an illegal target. Very similar to how, like, you know, like if you have a Combust in play, if you have a Spellskite in play and you want to use Combust, you can't redirect it. I mean, there's a lot of thinking that goes on in this match, so if this match is taking a little bit, his smartest move is to leave his Ink Moth back, and then attack with both Blightted Agents, and then block my Ink Moth with his Ink Moth. And then I have to hope that I draw a Ink Moth. He's attacking with oh, okay. He's attacking with Spellskite in the hopes that I block, which makes some sense. I just don't think it's risky, but it's not the worst play ever. I mean, if it did come down to damage being the key here, because he understands. Well, I can on the rebound from the blue spell that's currently exiled. I can. What can I do? I can, on the rebound, I can activate Ink Moth on upkeep. Alright, so now I have a feeling we're gonna fight over some spells here. Any day now. Or is he just gonna let it go through? Alright, he just let it go through, so that's fine. Now I activate Ink Moth. Because remember, if we would have gotten into a fight and I would have somehow won, then alright, so that gets redirected. Redirection Wars. Although he does have 2 mana. Now I'm going to groundswell his creature so that it can't be targeted by my spells. And that should be game. Possibly. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see if... okay, so in theory, he should not be able to be targeted by my Distortion Strike. So it rebounds. I'm going to give my Ink Moth +1/+0 and unblockable. Or I can Pendelhaven, but I'd rather... No, it shouldn't work that way. Alright. So... that's good. It is now unblockable, so his plan of blocking it with Ink Moth is done. I could Pendelhaven in response. That's fine, you can do that. I think you can do that. Oh, I can't use Pendelhaven, I already gave it +1/+0. Wait, did I? Fucking Moto, man. The stack is miserable. That should be... or... okay. Slightly confused. Slightly confused. Ever so slightly. I could swear that it says on it that it can't target. Okay, that's just weird. Okay. So instead I'm going to Might of Old Krosa. I'm gonna go with Plan D here. Plan D is winning by attacking with Spellskite. You can do 21 points damage with a Noble Hierarch or a Spellskite. Alright. I don't know why that occurred the way it did. But that's fine. Really, the difference here is me having Wild Defiance, which may not be even good enough for the deck, to be honest, but I'm going to get him down to 2. And what that allows me to do with him being at 2 life, also Inkmoth Nexus goes back to becoming a land, so you still have access to it as mana. But with him being at 2 life, he now needs to keep up a minimum of 1 blue to just activate Spellskite. So that's good for me. He also has to leave it back to block. So that buys me 1 extra turn. Which I think is fine. I think now what I can do... that is not the dream hand right there. Sometimes it is, but... you know, maybe if I had like 8 Thought Scours in my deck. So either way, I'm going to target it. And now we're going to have a Spellskite fight. It's basically like a biggest dick competition. And so I'm going to target it. It's going to get +9/+9. In his position, I don't even know if it makes sense. Alright, he's going to redirect it. Now, here's a fun little moto problem. You have to redirect it after it resolves redirecting. Not quite sure why, but I think I just messed that one up. Although I don't think he could redirect anymore. Either way, it wasn't really. Alright, so it's still okay. So I learned what happened with the distortion strike. Did I? No, it's still targeting him. That is really, really annoying. Why is that happening? I don't know. That is very, very annoying. Hashtag fuck version 4. Or is that my... God, that's annoying. You know, it's just things like that on Moto always happen. I still think I have another turn here. My biggest issue being a fetch land would help out a lot because I have Dryad Arbor in play, so that only allows him... okay. If he plays out another creature, though, I'm dead. Any creature or Inkmoth Nexus. So don't have either of those. Or that. That kills me. So I could have attacked with both. And, you know, also a massive punt on my part. There's the fetch land I needed too. It doesn't really matter at this point, I'm dead. But I might as well have some fun with it. Maybe I can get him to accidentally use Spellskite. And if I were to activate Inkmoth Nexus, I'm not given the time needed to I'm not given the time needed to pump it. Like, my only hope here is that he makes a mistake. Which I seriously doubt, especially after the first 2 times that we went through this process. Like, I don't think he cares at this point. Okay, I learned from this experience that you have to wait. Sadly, this deck no longer plays Rancor, which sucks. But, so you lose that whole trample effect. And with all the creatures out there, like Luxon, Smiters, and all the other junk, it becomes a lot more difficult. Alright, I'm dead. But it's game 1, new deck, you're learning. Mirror match is not the best place to learn. But it's in your losses that you probably learn the most. So I'm going to bring in all the Spellskites. For this matchup, I have Twisted Image, and I have 6 ways in my sideboard of getting rid of their Spellskites and their Inkmoth Nexuses. I also have Monastery Siege, which, if you haven't given it a shot yet, it's insane. Like, I played it, and then a guy tried to Abrupt Decay it, but what it says is if the opponent casts a spell that targets you or a permanent you control, costs 2 more. So, I've had it before, like, when I was playtesting. Like, a guy tried to Abrupt Decay it, but it costs 4 mana. And now this hand is far and away much better than my last hand. I have a way of dealing with Spellskite. I have an Infect creature. I actually have a Noble Hierarch, which is nice. Um, I think though in this matchup, I want to get my Spellskite out. I want to get the Spellskite out first, so I'm gonna get the Noble Hierarch in play, I think. I'm not sure if it's right to get Noble Hierarch or Glistening Elf in the play first. Because, I mean, I could attack with the Glistener Elf, but if I don't draw a second land, that Hierarch is going to be very slow, so I'm taking a risk here. What makes the risk a little easier is that next turn... Oh, he had nothing, that's good. I could have Distortion Striked. I don't know what it is. I think, though, I have to Mutagenic Growth here. I don't have to. Yeah, I should here, just in case he has a Spellskite next turn. And that puts him at 4. Then I get a Spellskite out, and then we start this whole fight again. Which, I mean, granted, yeah, I'm playing around cards I don't know he has, but okay, that's good. So I'm going to Nature's Claim the Spellskite, which is also really good against Inkmoth. Yeah, I'm just going to kill it. I don't really want to deal with it. And then I'm going to Distortion Strike. And then that does 3 here. Puts him at 7, and then he needs an answer next turn or he's dead. He essentially needs to either kill me with Inkmoth this turn, and it's much harder to kill with Inkmoth early than it is to kill with a creature. Or he needs to actually, I don't know. He needs another Spellskite, essentially. So that's not too bad. Let's see. Okay, Hierarch into nothing? Alright, that's good. I mean, he could use Vines of Vastwood to stop me from targeting my Glistener Elf, which is probably his only play here. Or, if he has his own Twisted Image, he could twist it. Okay, so he had a Vines. But I have a Vines. So everyone has Vines. He could have Twisted Image it, and it only would have gotten in 2 Infect. So let me just read that for a second to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Yeah, I'm just going to Vines my own. Actually, well, I could have Vines Wood Kicker, because it wouldn't have mattered regardless. You know, it would have just been for Rubs and Seas. The thing about Infect is that it is a very cheap... It's sort of a cheap deck, and then it's not a cheap deck at the same time. If you have if you have like the standard modern cards already in your possession, then it's not that big of a deal. Like, I already have Misties, you know, I have all the Shocklands and stuff like that. You just need to pick up Spellskites. Spellskites are the expensive cards in this deck. This is not a very good opener. This is a very good opener. I mean, it has no way of dealing with Spellskite. It has no way of disrupting him in any way. But there you go. So I like Hierarch turn 1. Hierarch turn 1 and the Spellskite into Blightted Agent. And then that should I mean, you know, I have no idea what's in his hand. It could be anything. So, you know, it looks like he kept a one-lander, which seems alright. And if he had the pump spell, it would have been Might of Old Krosa, which you cast during your main phase. Otherwise, it's a bad. Oh, okay, he did not keep a one-lander. He just wanted to play out the Blightted Agent. That's fine. Well, I see your Blightted Agent. I raise you 1 Ink Moth and a Spellskite. And I could actually get in a free attack here if I want, but, you know, in the off chance that Infect does deal a lot of damage to itself, it plays a lot of Phyrexian mana spells. So, you know, damage is not inconsequential, but it's also not the greatest thing ever. I'm going to block with the Spellskite, because if he does have a spell, then I'm just going to redirect it. And I think I'm fine. I think I'm fine letting my Spellskite get down a little bit. I mean, if he has a removal spell for it, then it doesn't change what happens to the Spellskite. Alright, so that's pretty good. I can attack him for 2, which is nice. If he has Nature's Claim, I would have to let it go through, because the Spellskite, with him having 2 infect creatures on the board, is very important. Plus, he has a Pendelhaven, which is pretty scary card, because that 2 infect is 4 infect per turn. But I should be able to kill him next turn with the Blightted Agent. It just depends on what he has. I can block, but I don't. Yeah, do you want? I'm blocking here so that he doesn't use the Pendelhaven on that. Try to get him to use the Pendelhaven on it. It was a bad bluff on my part, but what it also did though is it adds to my delve count, so that I have like a really good shot at killing him next turn. It was a calculated risk, so I figured I'd take it. Plus, he had the opportunity there twice to kill my Spellskite by using Pendelhaven on the Glistening Elf. So that was pretty, didn't turn out too bad. Now I have to make sure I do this correctly, because it doesn't tell me which one has Summoning Sickness and which one doesn't. So I'm just going to attack, and growth plus Hierarch equals 8 infect, and that's enough to kill him. Should be enough to kill him. And I have plenty of ways of targeting my own Spellskite. Yeah, so I'm gonna. I think he has vines here. He could. Not. I keep calling it Vines of Vastwood. Either way. Oh, crap. I forgot to use it. Either way, he can't kill me next turn. What he could do, though, is draw an Ink Moth, and that would have been bad. But I had the second Blightted Agent, which is good. That was just a punt. I'm, like I said, new to a deck. I've only played this deck in Vintage. And it was, I see he did draw the Ink Moth. So that, if I didn't have the second Blightted Agent in the hand, that would have been a really bad play. At least now, though, I have 3 separate targets for my gigantic growth. whosever idea it was to make a 1 mana +6/+6. Not a smart man. Alright, so that's gonna put me at 6 Infect, I think. That's fine. He can't pump it in anywhere. There's only way with, like, Pendlehaven plus Noble Hierarch and I'd be dead. But never drew a Noble, so. Let's see if I can get the win here. Let's probe him just in case. Let's see what he's got. Whoa! Okay, so he has Dispel, finds, ugh. Luckily I have 2 pump spells here that I can cast. That's bad though. He dispels 1. And he dispels 1. I use the mutagenic growth. And if he's not dead this turn, he's dead next turn. It's like an inevitability. Oh, he, for some reason, activated his Inkmoth Nexus. Which is really good for me, because then he can only use one of his disruption spells. He can't use both the spell and... can't use the spell and the other one that he had. Alright, so he didn't fall for that. So now I'm going to just cast this. Five, 6. This is gonna get countered. See, we both made mistakes here, though, so that's fine. Sadly, I don't have enough in the yard to activate it a second time. But if he has a Spellskite... No, he needs Hierarch to win next turn? I could even turn on my Inkmoth and block his guy if I wanted to. Actually, I may have to. I take that back. He can target my Spellskite with... He can target my spell... Yeah, with that. Which is fine. Because for some reason it's not working the way it should. I'm not sure if this is a bug. But... this might very well be a bug. Because that card specifically says that creature cannot be a target of spells or abilities your opponents control. And so therefore my Spellskite should not be able to be targeted by a spell that my opponent controls. But for some reason it does. And he tapped his Pendlehaven. Now we're both angry and slightly confused. But either way, I think I won this game. Alright, on to the next round with some more practice.